Hello and welcome to the Identity Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Caleb, and my fellow co-host, Tark, will be joining us soon, but we're very excited to kick off this show as we continue March. It's a very big month. March is a very big month. There's a lot going on. Not only are we celebrating Women's History Month, which is such an amazing, amazing thing, and all of our guests this month identify as women. We're very grateful for that. But we're also continuing our environmentalism and sustainability series, which has been such a joy. We have made amazing friendships, partnerships. We have learned so much, I know myself included, and it's been such an amazing journey. And I think nothing better yet than having Sustainable Journeys tonight featuring Garbage Gang, the founder, and it's really awesome. But before we get into that, don't forget that you're listening and watching the Identity Podcast. We're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, all at the Identity Podcast. You can check us out every Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time for the live show, and always stream us on all streaming platforms. That's right, we're available on all streaming platforms. Really great stuff. We're presented by Find Your ID NYC. It's such an amazing journey to be able to do this show. And don't forget, if you want to sponsor us, you can do so. Email us at press@findyouridnyc.com. That email is right down there on the screen. Pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and get into it. Sustainable Journeys featuring our lovely guest, Cassandra Carmelina. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. It's such a honor, as I was mentioning to you earlier, to always have you on. And I think the dialogue that we already had, to me, indicates that we're going to have a great show. I'm very excited. It's going to be great. So if you don't mind, go ahead and give us kind of a background about yourself.
Yeah, of course. That's such a loaded question. My name is Cassandra Carmelina. I'm from Mississauga, Ontario. I currently reside in Calgary, Alberta. I'm the founder of Garbage Gang, which is a sustainable, eco-friendly group that really educates on trash etiquette and how we can become a more sustainable part of nature. I'm a yogi, and my full-time role is business development. I'm a medical esthetician. So overall, I think that I would identify as waste removal for mind, for body, for soul, and for soil, for our earth. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, that's great. That's absolutely awesome. I guess a quick side note: how did you get into the medical as esthetician? Correct?
Yeah, so I've been in the aesthetic industry now since 2008. I actually started with a full-time job as a manager of a spa. I was like 18-year-old running a spa. And then I went into medical esthetician school. So I studied how to do facials, everything from head to toe. And then I got into the education part of it and began traveling Canada. I'm now in education and business development. So I work with some of our leading clinics across Canada, and we develop and educate on skin health and how to remove waste from your skin.
That's like fascinating. I didn't even realize that was, I guess, a position, but I've come to realize that there's a position for everything nowadays. But but that's really fascinating. That's really cool. How do you, I guess, kind of another side question here, how do you relate that to what you do with Garbage Gang?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's something that I do try my best to embody and bring into my work, my full-time job, my day job. Also being an earth activist, I'm also a yogi. And I think what I do with my day job is really try to bring in the factors of, I mean, that's such an interesting way to put it, but like waste removal through your business, right? I think what kind of becomes challenging for me in talking about trash etiquette is that the industry of the cosmetic aesthetic also produces so much waste, right? With the products that they have, single-use items, whether it be medical or whatever kind. So, there's different ways that I try to have that conversation. It's almost been something where Garbage Gang has been my side passion project. And I'm like this Batman character that is corporate hippie by day, and then at night you can find me in trash bins or out on your street picking up garbage. So
like a cooler Bruce Wayne, right? That's really really amazing though. Thank you for sharing that with me and with us. That's really neat. I think it's kind of cool, as we mentioned. You know, those memes having those alter egos, those two different personas, but being the same person, but having those two different types, like corporate hippie, but also at night being able to go and pick up trash and that the sustainable Batman is what we can call you.
Yeah.
I'll make you a logo.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. That really is, and I think I've already kind of noticed just from learning of your identity thus far, based off being live here on the show, and also just from talking to you before the show. You're a very down to earth soul, as I can tell, and which works perfectly because I am as well. But it also, I think, just noticing that you are someone that you're productive and you are going to go after your dreams and after what you do. And so I guess this kind of goes into this whole focus right now, especially in the month of March, is focusing on your identity, your journey. And so for your journey, what has kind of led you to where you are in this exact moment today? What are the things, the struggles, maybe the misconceptions, the joys, whatever it may be?
Thank you so much for asking. It's funny because even as I work in my cosmetic aesthetic industry, and for any of my partners, if they add me on Facebook or find me on social media, at our next meeting, it'll often be like, so like, what's up with you and garbage? You know, it began for me at a really young age and getting to where I am now. I think that I learned really young how to take situations and turn them into something good, to choose the good in it, and to understand maybe that's not, you know, something that you want to have, and how can you transmute it into something better? Or maybe how I use the term now is to compost it. I grew up in a household where composting, recycling, and garbage was really a part of our regular chores that we had to do. So my mom was someone who was incredible at that, and we would literally get in trouble, you know, if we're not properly recycling, if something ended up in the wrong place. So it became something that was just nature for us to organize our garbage, organize our waste. And I was a kid who like rearranged my room all the time or was sorting through things. And so I actively was a person who engaged in being able to reduce and reuse items and then properly sort my garbage. Then a dear friend, Victoria, who is a huge part of Garbage Gang, she created a 30-day cleanup challenge. And we created this Facebook group. And there was a crew of us, I'd say about 12 to 15, that were picking up garbage every day for 30 days. And we would submit a photo and be like, okay, here's my trash. I did it for the day. And we'd cheer each other on. And at the time, I was traveling North America for work. I was all over the US and Canada, and I was literally walking to corporate meetings with my team, like, oh, you guys, I got to pick up a piece of garbage, like, since I'm outside, you know? So doing it for 30 days. And I think what was so shocking to me was the amount of garbage that I was able to find every day all over the place. And it became something where it was like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I'm such a stubborn optimist. I think we talked about this before the call as well. And I like didn't want to think that everybody was just throwing their trash out and was ignorant to the planet, you know? Instead, I thought, hey, like so many cities organize their trash in a different way. And there's so many new garbage bins that exist in parks, but the education didn't come with it. So that 30-day journey for me turned into a year-long journey and began educating and sharing information on how to properly organize your trash and to become a sustainable part of nature. I think that we really want to encourage everyone to just start where they are and realize that we all have trash, and you've just got to pay attention, bring that consciousness once you notice it, and then sort it and see how you are, treating your trash. Are we compassionate with the garbage in our life? And that's really what Garbage Gang wants to bring. So it started as a 30-day journey, and it's just become an international gang where we're hugging eco thugs that really care about garbage and the
planet. That's such a great sentence. I love that. um, no, that's really fascinating. That's beautiful, actually. Really, I love that. You start off in this 30-day journey, something so small, so simple, and what I think is cool and really neat about those types of journeys, like a 30-day journey, is you start on day one, or even in the first week, the first 7 days, and you don't even really think of like, oh, 30 days from now, this is how I'm going to feel about this. A lot of times it's like, oh, this is amazing, I'm loving this. And it's very intriguing to kind of then look back by that 30-day, or maybe even you get into, by now you're 2 months in, and you look back at that first week and you're like, man, on day 5, I wasn't sure about this. Or day 5, it's like, I thought this was amazing, but I thought by day 30, I would be wiped out. I mean, I wouldn't do it again, or I do it every once in a while, maybe even like in 30-day segments. But here you are, continuing to do it, growing it into even more. Now it's international, and like you said, it's this international global gang of eco thugs, and you're able to connect and do this thing that is so important, right? So important, and something that I feel like on a daily basis, it just kind of goes kind of over our heads. Trash. It's like, oh, trash. Just throw it away, toss it off to the side. Nothing, no big deal, right? But it's like, but it is a big deal. It's those small actions. One of my favorite quotes, sayings ever, and I'm probably going to botch it, the exact quote, but one of my favorite things is, small things are actually big things. The small things are really integral, really important in our society, in our daily lives. Without the small things, we don't have those big things, right? Like, yes, we have large things that are occurring, but it's because of the things that it's made up of, the little small things. It's like a puzzle, little pieces of a puzzle. I relate a lot of things to a puzzle, but it's because it's the truth and it's accurate, and that I think that is really important. And so I think what Garbage Gang is trying to do, and every organization out there that's very similar, is you're just trying to pick up those small pieces, so that way we don't have a large problem at a whole. And unfortunately, even with all the work, all the hours that you've put in, we're still having this large problem. Mm-hmm. And it's for the people that don't necessarily recognize. And I think you mentioned this before the call as well. We had a great talk, everyone, before the call. And something that I really liked, that kind of resonated with me now, is you mentioned this fact how you can't really blame one person, right? You can't necessarily blame an individual. Instead, you have to recognize the fact that it's an everybody, every person thing, every soul, every individual type of thing. Everyone in society is a part of this, but every person has to do their part, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that was something that you kind of wanted to mention as well. And so when it comes to the Garbage Gang and starting it, so it kind of started with this 30-day challenge.
It started with a 30-day challenge, and then it really became the impact of one. And we're really reaching out to those that think, I'm just one person, or it's not my trash, not my problem. And being able to understand exactly what you said, it's those small sustainable steps that lead to big impact. And a 30-day challenge is a start, right? It's something where you can just begin, and maybe you don't want to go outside and pick up garbage, and that's totally okay. You don't have to pick up other people's trash to be in our gang, but can you become more aware of your individual trash etiquette, right? Like, what kind of trash is happening in your life? We are worth 5 pounds of trash a day. North America and Canada is alike.
Crazy.
Which seems so wild. 5 pounds is a lot. If you were to add that up for the full year, you're just under 2,000 pounds of garbage. And it's like, okay, let's take a step back and think about what ways can I become more sustainable? Can I pack a lunch? Can I bring a water bottle? Can I reduce the coffee? Or when I'm at the grocery store, am I buying items that are packaged? And there's so many different ways that you can just start where you are and see how one person can make little changes in their day-to-day habits and become better at just existing and being a good steward of the land, right? That's kind of what it's about.
I love that. Steward of the land. I'm going to write that down. No, that's that exactly though. That's brilliant. I'm loving this already. I think that's exactly what we need to happen as well. And I've really enjoyed this environmentalism and sustainability series because every guest every week has brought a different perspective, but they're saying the same things, maybe just in different contexts, but they're saying the same things. And I think that is so important to mention. So everyone who is listening now, watching now, has listened or watched any of our prior shows throughout the series, I encourage you to go back and to listen to this and do your, try to figure out what you can do. And I think something that you mentioned, which was great, is that if you don't want to go out and pick up trash, pick up waste, you don't necessarily have to. It's recognizing, being aware of your own kind of daily life and what you're doing and what you're doing to add to it. So if you can subtract yourself, at least you're doing something in that nature. But I think what's amazing is that outside of just picking up trash and picking up waste is the fact that there are so many other things that you can do besides necessarily just reducing your limits, your waste. You can also, if you really wanted to do, I guess you could be the person that makes the call on social media. You go and post, say, reminder to pick up your trash. You could be that person, right? Yeah. You could be the person that maybe not in the waste department, but you're in the, I'm going to go plant some trees, anything. There's so many different things that are green that you can do. So I'm going on a rant. But I think it heavily relates to this topic, to this show, and exactly what you're doing, what Garbage Gang is doing, and everything.
Yeah,
and so
I agree. I think we're not going to tell you what to do or how to do it. We're going to share with you the many different ways that you can do your part. And that's just it. It's like, do your part, worry about you, mind your business and your garbage. And then let's do the thing. Let's keep going.
I love that. Mind your business and mind your garbage. You are saying some amazing things. No, that's actually, it's brilliant though. And I think it's a great kind of mission statement to have, I love that. And so I guess we can touch on this now of sorts, with waste pickup and everything. What are some of the main things that Garbage Gang, especially say training new members or anything, what are some of the main things that you kind of educate people on doing with waste pickup?
Yeah, this is such a great question. If we're on a public pickup, say you're outside and you're alone or you're on a date or you've gathered your friends and you're picking up garbage, wear gloves, bring sanitizer, bring a bag, and you can bring any bag that you have at home. It can be a plastic bag from your groceries. It could be a reusable bag. That would be even more badass. Wear gloves, protect yourself, and be mindful of what it is. Like if it's something dangerous or it's broken glass or a needle, leave it. You can find others that might be able to take care of that. Know where you're going, maybe track somewhere that you want to be. Can you find a path? I usually say where there's people, there's garbage. So if it's a park near your home, if it's a path that you love to go on, We partner with Tuesdays for Trash from Portland, Oregon, who encourages everybody on Tuesdays for Trash. You can get outside and pick up one piece of garbage every Tuesday and notice the difference that you can make in your own neighborhood. I think it's about starting right where you are. How can you just walk outside of your door and see the first piece of trash and then pick it up and put it in the garbage, and know that you've made an impact and done something good for the planet. And maybe someone will see you do it, and maybe it's a little person and they'll be inspired by you as well to then pay more attention to their garbage. There's been so many different times that we've met gang members from literally our public cleanups where they're like, what are you doing? Are you doing this for the city? Are you getting paid for this? And it's like, no, dude, we're just volunteering for the planet. Like, we all live here and we just want to do our part. And maybe if it gets you to just notice your garbage, or have that conversation about ways that we can be sustainable together. I think that's one thing we all have in common is garbage, so be safe, protect yourself, go with a crew, or know where you're going, know where your point A is and where you're going to dump your garbage. Be mindful of the city that you're in because you don't want to get charged for dumping. But you can also let them know that it was like, this is the park's trash. I'm just like doing my thing, but have fun. And yeah, there's lots of different communities that exist throughout North America of trash pickers. So find different groups. You can check out Tuesdays for Trash or anywhere on our garbage pages. And we're always sharing information about ways that you can get involved.
That's great, and we'll showcase those websites and that social media pages as well at the end of the show. But Garbage Gang CA, you can actually find them all. That handle, I think that's the term, handle on all social media platforms. You can check that out there. But I think that's great. I think those are great tips, and it's a great start. And again, you said some just really wise, brilliant things. I really need to make a note of all this. It's a good thing this is a recording. We record this. We'll definitely be using a lot of clips from this. But this is brilliant. I think to kind of take a step back from what you were saying as well, which is great. Looks like we have a question as well. Jeremy says the boys and I filled 3 bags tonight.
Nice. That's awesome. We have gang with us always.
Really great stuff there. And thank you, Jeremy, for tuning in. And thank you for everyone else for listening and watching to the show. We greatly appreciate it. But to kind of take a step back as to what we were saying, but also along the same lines, we have these tips that you can give, but also kind of the journey of Garbage Gang. So we touched on the founding and everything with 30-day challenge and the journey of the different things that you teach other people you can do and the things that you really try to make sure every time you go out and pick up, and this is what you follow by. But this journey of, because again, this show is all about sustainable journeys, these journeys getting to where we are, where you have been, where the Garbage Gang is and everything. How exactly does Garbage Gang kind of go about different events? Do you, I guess the journey of events, before you answer that, I'm sorry, my mind is racing. Before you get into that, I guess, how exactly did you organize kind of your first few events? Like, what was the journey of that?
Oh, cool question. When I first started Garbage Gang, it was just me. I was the gang. Like, it was like, hey, if you want to join my gang, it's me. I'm the gang. You can just do it. Like, anyone who want to be in my gang, I'm the only one in it. And then it was just like posting on social pages and sharing different pickups and cleanups, and it started to grow. I would meet different people that were like, hey, I've kind of always wanted to do that. Or I think even now, if we can talk about times during COVID, I met someone at a cleanup where they were like, how can I do this? I want to volunteer. Not as many things are open. And it's just really like, okay, cool. Now you're in the gang. So you just have to follow and keep up. We create events. We ask people to reach out to us as well if you're interested in creating your own cleanup. We totally respect that some don't want to organize different groups if you want to do it individually. And it's kind of just been an unfolding process of like, okay, so there are a lot of people that want to pick up garbage. I've even made friends in the trash bin, or had friends that it'll be like, hey, do you want to go dumpster diving? And, see so it's constantly been a journey. And it's been about, it's coming up to 4 years of our anniversary of being like a garbage gang. And, yeah, I think that's something really exciting that it's just continued to unfold, and I'm so excited and really happy when people are thinking of me and garbage at the same time. So someone will think of something trash and send it over to me, and we'll share it through the socials, and yeah, it's kind of still unfolding.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I guess kind of off of what you said at the end there, do you feel that, especially with the pandemic, do you feel that social media has been a really great source for you to be able to say, hey, we're going to go pick up now, today at 2:00 or anything like that?
Yeah, it's definitely been a help. I think we're all at home, we're on our social pages, and I think we're looking for something that's a little bit more positive and solution oriented. And that's really what a lot of our garbage gangs are about. Tuesdays for Trash, which was founded in Portland, Oregon, that was actually founded to create a movement where we can get out on Tuesdays, get out of our house, and go be a part of the community. So, really finding a way that we can get outside, and if we can't gather in a group, you can still get out and do something to be an active part of a solution. So social media has been a huge way that we've connected. We're connected to different gangs in New York, across the US, all the way to California. So it's definitely been a big one for growing our community and keeping in touch with more ways that we can make a difference.
I'm sure. I feel like for all of us, social media has been an amazing source of energy that we've been able to put into in the past year with the pandemic, and I feel doing something of your nature with your organization, your group, your garbage gang, you're able to again, put out that quick reminder like, hey, this is what's happening, and then you can also post about it, and you can encourage other people, and that leads into two things. One thing is, Jeremy said again as a comment, I think we influenced about a dozen people along the way.
That's awesome.
Which
yeah.
is absolutely amazing. We also have another little special guest on the show. My co-host Tarek is joining us.
Oh, what's up, everyone? I was just listening for sure. That's awesome. Sorry for being so late. Hope everything's well. That's great. I got a chance to listen in the back, so I'm just like, Caleb, run. I have some questions too, so just go ahead. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll continue, but thank you everyone who's been commenting, everyone that is listening and watching the show thus far. Once again, you are listening and watching the Identity Podcast. It's been an honor thus far with Sustainable Journeys featuring Garbage Gang, and of course our founder of Garbage Gang, Cassandra Carmelina, an amazing soul. I've had the pleasure of talking to for 30 minutes now, if not more, and it's been an honor thus far. But to continue, we talked about the founding, we talked about the journey of Garbage Gang, and we talked about your journey as an individual. And I think all of this is just so important. And to kind of continue with this, and then we'll get into some of the other things that we're going to talk about too, is what do you see as the future of Garbage Gang?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. I mean, it's so much bigger than me. So where it will go, I'm going to let the universe decide on that. And I think what my intention with Garbage Gang is to help shift the culture around garbage. I think that we so often think of trash as like, not my trash, not my problem, or it's a trash experience, or we have a trash X, or, things like this. So how do we just shift that culture so that the ways that we can think of trash are more compassionately and real with the actual physical material that we're working with on a day-to-day basis? This chair that we're sitting on, this desk that's in front of us, the electronic computer that we're even on now, eventually it's going to be trash. It's no different than your candy wrapper. So I think for us, it's shifting that culture. I think that's really what we'd like to see and what we're hopeful for.
That's absolutely beautiful. I love that.
How's the culture been specifically in Canada? Isn't Canada really clean?
Dude, what? No, I think
Yeah.
I'm so surprised to know that we are actually the worst. We're number one in the worst,
No way.
Really?
like per capita.
Right.
Yeah, Canada's actually up there for like the number one. I mean, we were sending our trash out and shipping our garbage away. And
Are you guys hearing that, by the way? I'm sorry. Am I the only one that's
yeah.
very screechy, pitchy thing? Okay, I thought I was the only one. All you viewers out there that didn't hear her during that entire process. I know I filmed a promo today, which is pretty funny. I don't know if you guys. I think you did get a chance to see it, but while I was doing it, I felt like I didn't have enough time to say everything, but I threw away, I recycled, and I also like looked in the street and there was just garbage everywhere. And I was like, this is prime content, but this is bad. So I don't know if I want to publicize this. But yeah, New York is gross, obviously. So that's why we have this the way it is. And you know where I'm hailing from, of course. But I'm super appreciative of you coming on the show. I'm super happy about what you're doing. How did you start it this year? Did we skip that part? Or?
No, Garbage Gang is. We're 3 years old.
3 years old. Okay.
It started as a 30-day cleanup, and it's kind of existed ever since. And I wish you would have shown the trash. I think that's like a part of everything.
I didn't have enough time, but yeah, like, for sure.
Let's not have a blind eye to this. And I think like once you see the trash, you can't unsee it, right? So
yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, what I wanted to get into, I don't know if you guys got into this because I don't want to backtrack too much, but how easy was it for you to, like you said, start from just an initiative to making it a full company? Is it a full non-for-profit? And like how do you start a non-for-profit? How do you make it something more legitimate? We have entrepreneurs in our midst most of the time that watch us as well. So obviously this is Women's Month, so any other young women that are trying to do this as well, or anyone else, you're an inspiration to them. So I'm curious to hear how did you start it? Like how did you go through the process other than like submitting and LLCs and all that fun stuff?
Right. I mean, it has been quite a process and a journey. If I could start with saying it's not even my full-time gig. It's something that has been a passion project for me that I've continued to unfold. I reach out to other entrepreneurs to understand how they do it. I'm connected to a lot of other not-for-profits, and we're better together. It's about community. So being able to just reach out, network, and find your tribe, right? I know they say like your vibe attracts your tribe, but it's so true. And being able to just find what you're passionate about, like what gives you that little oomph. And for me, it's trash, so being able to figure out what it is that you can share and offer and do the thing and find new ways. I don't think that there's really like a particular code for any one path, right? We've kind of all got it. And it's just trusting and surrendering and being willing to shift and change. And then look up all the legal stuff that you need to do. Find a friend that's a lawyer and, all of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get into. I was like, it can get super technical, but if your mission's there, the tribe will definitely come. And that's just how it is.
Exactly. As an entrepreneur, you've got so many other things that you've got to do, and you kind of figure out along the way, but like do what you are good at and then find your team that's good at all the other things that need to get done.
That's right. That's a highlight, right, Caleb? He just gave you the highlight face. Usually we'll take a segment and then we'll push that as well. But that's true.
See, we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, we're here. We're definitely here, man. So that's super awesome. I mean, I got a chance to do a little more research too, because I think it's called Tuesday for Tuesdays for. Yeah, I saw it, and it was just so many chapters, and I got a chance to look at the website, and obviously I love Oregon. I just specifically Portland and the initiatives that they do out of there. The flannel shirts included. But I think I don't know. I just love how global it is, and I think that I'm so proud to have. We're almost hitting every country now, Caleb. Right? We're trying to make this thing much more global. Yeah, we're getting there, and specifically the fact that no one's doing this out of community service. You're legit doing this from service from your heart, and I could just hear how you feel about it. And I think that means so much more than sometimes actually picking up the trash, because your heart is leading. You're like, hey, look, I don't necessarily have the brains to sit and do a whole LLC and tell you about that, but what I do know is what I know makes my heart, feel better, and makes the Earth's heart feel better. So I definitely appreciate you. Next time I will share with you some trash. I also love your trash puns. They're very funny, and the songs that you put out. So I think like you said, creating a culture around it is something that we don't really think about. And I hope as we come across the Earth Day that's coming up, that we have seen how that's shifted over time. One of our guests was able to be at the first Earth Day, right, Caleb?
Yep, 1970.
1970s, and he's just seen how everything is transformed, and like, yeah, it's much more now like, let's join hands and let's do this together, than it was like, okay, there's this global thing coming, it's called climate change, it's going to destroy us all. Instead of this being like obviously this impending doom, it's more like, we're going to do this forever because we need to, and that's just like, it's part of our lifestyle. So I often bring up being in other countries and stuff, but in Japan in particular, I realized that there was like 7 different slots for recycling plastic, and I also made a joke that I didn't get a chance to share in the promo about like, I'm confused about this, so I wanted to bring a highlight to that. Has anyone ever asked you any crazy questions about how to dispose of trash or like batteries or anything crazy like that?
Oh, dude, that's literally what we're all about. I appreciate you bringing up Japan, because I'll often share how great they are at it. Like their schools, from when they're young, their kids are washing out their recycling. And I think, Caleb, we were talking earlier about like events and things like this. And so we've been a part of a few festivals in trash organizing. And so there we'll physically be in the trash bins sorting. And we love it when people will come up and it's like they're a little bit shook at the beginning, like, okay, what do I do with this? And then it's like, excuse me, where do I put this? And we're like, yes, thank you for asking. And that's where it began for us, right? Was being able to see that there was so much garbage all over the place. It's not different anywhere. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. We're all filled with trash, and new programs have come into different cities and sub-cities. I think what's confusing is that nowhere does it the same. There's all kinds of different factories that then break down the trash, and depends on where you are, what city, what state. And hell yeah, we get lots of questions about like, where does this go? We could totally run a whole series of like, what bin does this shit go in? Because it's confusing, and then you look at materials and you're like, this is a little bit plastic, but maybe this could be composted. So we definitely hope to share a lot more education on the physical parts and the material of where it can be wasted. There's a lot of cool companies that exist, like TerraCycle, that partners with different companies. That's like the man in the middle between where away is, our landfills and things like that. And it's confusing, right? Like think about, like, for example, a coffee pod. A coffee pod is plastic, it's aluminum, and then it's filled with organic material. So it's literally all three. It's recyclable, it's garbage, and it's compost. And like, you wouldn't just know that. You would think like, I don't know what to do with this. It's going to go in the trash and then it goes to the landfill, right? So I think it's pretty shocking to know that very little waste is actually diverted, and most of it goes to landfill, right? Even when we're recycling, we're often not recycling properly. If you're not washing your materials, you could totally ruin an entire pack of recycling, and then that goes to landfill. So, it comes down to what's our responsibility, what's the responsibility above, right? And it always trickles back down and then up again, and we've all got to figure it out together.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I was gonna ask that too. Like, after you dispose of the trash, or you put it in the right places, where does it end up going? And I think I think we had I don't know if it was last episode, Caleb, but she's a chemical engineer and she designs like waste management stuff. So she was like the next step. So I'm glad we're kind of like you said, getting into this microcosm of like, what can I do? Because I don't have a chemical engineering degree, or whatever it may be. What can I do? And then, in the meantime, that can help. And I just love these comments. I didn't get a chance to look at that, but filled 3 bags tonight, it's just like, like what, I love the culture behind it, because, I wish, it's almost like if you had like a counter side to it. It's just like, just threw away my entire everything. It's going to a landfill. And like, that's an update. You're just like, ugh, that's gross. But I wish we were able to document how much trash we're able to do. You know, like everybody's Twitter shows their, you know, carbon footprint or something.
Yeah.
But,
get out of the taboo. Let's talk about our trash. I think that like it becomes so vulnerable. We've even done different like, okay, so we'll call it your individual trash inventory, right? And it's like our trash etiquette is what it is that we need to share more about. Like, how am I existing with my trash? Where does it go? How do I sort it? What do I do? So yeah, there's a responsibility of one, right? Your individual impact is absolutely important. It's absolutely integral. And that's what we're here for, is like, yo, you matter. You're one person and you matter. Let's not turn a blind eye to our trash in every part of our life, but mostly the material. Like, how do you sit with your waste and then sort through it and then decide for yourself, like, how do I reduce it, right? And we're not asking you to become a minimalist. If you want to, that's cool. We can share tips on that too. But let's just get to basics, right? Like, how do you sort your shit in the kitchen? How does it look in your washroom? When you go out and you buy food at a restaurant, what does that look like for you? You know, do you keep the packaging? Does the company use really cool takeout containers that you can then put your lunch into? Like, there's so many little ways that you can do it. And there's garbage everywhere. So it's a day filled of constantly figuring out your trash.
That's
I think
great.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely great. And I mean, to touch on what we mentioned earlier too, was you said, you said just this personal trash inventory and this being responsible for yourself, you know, because it takes one person. It's not just, it's the smaller problem, right? We have these smaller things that lead to this larger problem, as we mentioned. And I went on my rant and I did my whole analogy thing of the puzzle, right? We have the puzzle, and I think, again, to reiterate that for everyone listening, everyone watching, you know, we're all part of this puzzle, whether we want to be or not. We're all part of the puzzle, and being a part of this puzzle means that we have our little piece that we add to it. And so it's almost asking you, you know, are you adding that piece of the puzzle? Or are you taking that piece of the puzzle away?
Indeed. Yeah, and it's very poetic, right?
Thank you.
Shout out to the big Hawaiian shirt in the sky. Sorry, I had to get you, man. I had to get you. But you're right. That was very poetic, and I do think being part of the solution is kind of like being less part of the problem. So I guess, you know, we've talked a lot of trash. Like, are you doing any other endeavors, or you know, what else do you do? Not necessarily the sustainability, but what else can you just show, you know, that you've done over the time, accomplishment, stuff like that?
I'm a trifecta of waste removal. So I also am a yoga space holder. I'm a practitioner. I hold yoga since COVID began. I became a virtual yoga space holder, which was something that, you know, you wouldn't, it's kind of, the digital space was not somewhere that I ever imagined that I would be meditating with people all over the world too. So that's been really cool. I practice, it's definitely part of the lifestyle. I'm also a medical esthetician, so I talk about skin health all the time.
Awesome.
Yeah, really sharing ways to keep your trash out of your face and out of your body so that you can show up healthy too. You know, so yeah, I think it's constant waste removal for me. You know, it's all waste removal.
Yeah.
You know, I live far away from my family, so shout out to my family. I know they're probably tuning in. Yeah, I'm across the country from them, and so I've really dedicated a lot more of my time to the planet and to trash and to really doing a lot more with that. So that's it's kind of all garbage for me.
It's all garbage for me. See, like all these puns, like sometimes they go over my head. I'm like, oh, okay, that was fine.
I love it.
Yeah, that was great.
It's all trash.
Right.
It's just trash.
So I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at our On Religion series. We kind of did that right before we did sustainability, and you were kind of like an in-between those two as well. So I am curious about how your entrepreneurship has grown in that, and, you know, just the spirituality behind maybe, you know, having to really enjoy meditation from afar. Caleb also has a meditation podcast that he does. Shout out to that on this podcast, which I don't think we've ever done.
We're actually in the middle of a rebrand. Exciting stuff there. Talk about it later. Go ahead.
For sure. But, just like what he's doing, people are clamoring for this particular podcast. And like he basically meditates and puts some good music on and puts people in a space. And I like how you use space holding, because I do think right now more than ever, we've kind of come to terms with our environment, low key, specifically our rooms and our homes because of COVID. And that space that's being created is definitely on an astral plane that can be accessed from anywhere in the world. And I do think that it is interesting to see how people have been able to connect. We've had clairvoyants on our show. We've had all sorts of Reiki healers and all types of fun stuff. And just to see them do their work from afar, it honestly only shows testament to, like you said, of how much we have to remain true to ourselves, and as well as the outside world. So it's almost a reflection. So it's kind of like I see that the transition. Do you enjoy the transition, or have you just been like, "Hey, I'm rolling with it. This is the way of life,"
Yeah, I totally enjoy it. I feel like I'm unfolding more and more ways that it really is just all one thing. I embody this entire waste removal system and in so many different spaces. And yoga meditation, there's so many teachers that would say that that's waste removal, for the mind, and that's being able to like restart your phone, but for your brain. So I think it's all really interconnected, and I've been having a lot of fun seeing the oneness in all of the things that I'm doing, so I still show up, I wear this hat, I'll wear a different hat, but it's all waste removal at the end of the day. It's just sorting it differently.
Amazing. It's so true. So many different hats.
Waste removal for the mind.
That's the way to go. Yeah, that sounds like the name of the episode for sure.
When we're meditating, it's like, okay, look at that thought. You see that thought, and then you're like, okay, like let it either go with the ocean or close the door on it, or like I'd be like compost it, like bury it, let it like marinate something out, and then flower something more beautiful, right? So it's how you start it, but. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, that was perfect. That's
my spirit animal.
Right?
That's amazing.
Killing it.
I would like to ask, for the waste removal for the mind, is that trademarked, or can I use that on my podcast?
Yeah, we can all use that. Let's all get in on that.
Like you said, there's no separation. We're all in this big communal pot, right?
Tell your friends. You're like, oh, that looks like you need to recycle that thought.
That's great. Definitely changing up the language, changing up the culture of how we think about all of this stuff is definitely healthy. We're trying to create a much more healthy environment for everyone involved, and I think that's super awesome. But yeah,
I think.
So, go ahead. Yeah, you go.
Oh, do you have another question?
No, not particularly. Okay. I was just curious about like how you've been able to like take these materials and like get them out to people. Other than like your immediate community, are you reaching out with other sources, or like, is it mostly the events that you spoke about earlier?
Mostly events. There are, stay tuned. I definitely will be running different workshops, as we're not available to do a lot of that in person anymore. It was something that we would organize with different festivals. We do community engagement in multifamily homes. So say, for example, you live in a building, we'll organize with different multifamily homes and work with whatever garbage company organizes their trash at the building to see, is there more ways that you as a business or as a house, so say your building could be a business, but could become more sustainable. So like finding us online is absolutely it. And there's a lot of different projects and programs that we're working on in the background so that we're able to have a bigger reach and really tackle the issue a lot more, right? There's a lot of work to do. So we're also open to being able to tackle more of those projects together. Yeah. We're all trash.
We're all trash. I honestly, it's so funny. Caleb had been mentioning you and so happy about you for a while. I honestly thought Garbage Gang was a band. I don't know why.
I think there is
I thought it was like a band that cleaned up waste. I don't know why I thought that's what it was. It kind of is. Except
I hope there is that as well.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was. But for sure.
I do have a friend, actually. Her name's Crystal Fresh, and she's a DJ at a festival called Shambhala that we have here in Canada and BC. And she cleans the stage before she goes on her sets. Like, she literally will be like, all right, we got to clean this energy out of this space before I get on stage.
Staging and stuff.
Like, let's clear the space. So yeah.
Yes,
and if there is a band, I would love for them to reach out so that we could partner and become a gang band.
That would be cool.
A band of things, a band of garbage. That's hard. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this has been insightful. Of course, I can't wait to have you back on. I only had you for 30 minutes myself, but I think you've definitely shown the beauty of garbage and the culture behind it, and just like that means so much to everyone that's going to be involved, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we can continue to push your outreach in any type of way. Like that's our plan with this podcast. This is Caleb's subject all the way. That's why he's just like absorbing all of this, just like the sunflower that he is.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad to be here. Yeah, thanks for finding us. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you guys and spread the word and tell your friends to stop littering. And if they don't know how, then to find us and we'll help.
Right, exactly. We'll get them the rubric, the line and stuff. But yeah, definitely subscribe to her at Instagram, Garbage Gang CA, right? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Garbage Gang CA. I think you also have the other one as well, right? Tuesday, or is it TWT?
Yeah, Tuesdays for Trash. So you can find all the chapters at Tuesdays for Trash. And then you can see all the chapters that are around the globe too. Awesome.
Well, I have plenty of questions, but I'm not going to hold you for another hour. So I'm here, Caleb. You have any reiterating statements and stuff now?
Yeah, actually, I know one question that I think we all kind of wanted to touch on real quick before we end, and I think it's actually a perfect question to kind of end. It's kind of this like looking forward, but also this very momentous, like, what do we do? And that question is, how can we shift the culture around trash? I think that this is a great question that we can kind of wrap up on.
Yeah, wow, what a powerful question. And I think it's something that we should be asking ourselves every day more and more. When you're using the term trash, it's like, think about how you're using it. But how can we shift it is just by starting where you are. Look at where you are right now and think, how can I show up as my best self? And am I doing that? And whatever ways you're not, throw it out.
Throw it out. Compost it, recycle.
Yeah.
Waste removal for the mind.
We when we're in school, we learn about the 3 R's, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle. And I think for Garbage Gang, we would talk about the 7 R's, which is something that a lot of other eco heroes will talk about, right? I even wrote them down because I knew I'd be nervous to remember it, but it's to rethink what it is that you're purchasing or buying. Is it something that you need? Can we reuse the item? Is it something that you can, turn into something different? Refusing. I know it seems a little funny, but can you refuse something if it's wasteful in your life and not accept it? Repurposing, if you have a clothing or something that you think like, hey, this is garbage, is there a way that you can repurpose and make it into something better? I've seen some really creative ways that people have made art from trash. And then recycle, and then rot. Is it something that can rot that you can compost? So being able to just like break things down in your life in that way, and then do the thing and start small, to start where you are, it's really all about that.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it. Those 7 R's are a way to live by life, for sure. I like the refuse. I really like that one. I feel like that one kind of escapes a lot of people, especially in our capitalist society. It's very difficult for you to be. I know, right? Snaps for the capitalist. To refuse something is very interesting. I noticed that with the straws. I noticed that with the plastic bags. We tried those movements here in New York. I don't know why there's still plastic bags floating around, but there are. But most stores, you have to bring your own bag. And I think to answer your question, Caleb, I think that because people have been pushing this agenda for so long, and now we have an administration that's very into it, and there's like money behind it, so that's a good thing too. I think that those little inches towards this thing, it's gonna help. It's definitely gonna help. I mean, Japan is obviously blowing us out the water, but you're right nearby in Asia, not nearby, but closer in Asia, India is going through one of the worst crises ever. So, you know, it's not necessarily like directly cultural. It's sometimes political, and we have to kind of put those agendas in and lobbying, you know, but on the much smaller scale, me and you know, Garbage Gang involved, we're all going to do this together. So I think that's the summation of everything, the recycle of everything that we've said, for sure. But definitely refuse to be garbage. I think also that the word, yeah, refuse to be trashy. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, don't be trashy. Don't be trash.
I was gonna get into clothing too, because I think you seem to be very stylish as well. So have you gotten into that as well, or any sustainable clothing, or people that you would like to shout out? Or
Yeah, you know, there's Hai Fatra, who's actually in Brooklyn, and she creates luxury bags out of like your laundry, you know, the laundry containers, and she makes these stunning luxury bags out of them. There's Zero Waste Daniel, my girlfriend Lil Lucci, she also is creating a lot of things out of waste. And, you know, the clothing industry is a whole other conversation. I know you guys had a guest on the podcast about that too, which was a solid conversation. I think that, you know, look in your closet, and is there ways that you can even cut up your own shirt and be like, waha, it's like something totally new, right? It's another one where it's just sorting through, you know, and working in that same process of like, all right, is this something that I could donate? Could I go to a consignment shop and find something? Or, you know, what are ways that we could also support companies that are doing really great things to have sustainable clothing? Like there's a clothing line here in Canada called Seed, and they make pants out of hemp. And so that will last forever, right? So having more things that'll last you a long time so that you don't have to worry about, you know, your clothing going to waste. How do we express more quality over quantity and that kind of stuff? And then like, look at what you've got. Your closet's probably full of really cool shit that you haven't worn in a long time. I mean, a lot of us have been in sweatpants for this last whole year, right? So how do you like dress up your sweatpants at home? But that's a whole other, you know, the textile industry is wild, because it's not like once it goes to the trash, it's going to be there, right? That's some good New York noise. I like that.
Sorry, I have to keep muting myself. My apologies. Yeah, it's a car every 5 seconds.
That's awesome. But yeah, that's a whole other. That's another hour-long podcast that we could get into for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
yeah, because this is recorded, we can always go back, and everyone you just mentioned will definitely get a shout out, and you know, cool. get their glory. So I appreciate you sharing the wealth with that as well. But as we come to our hour mark, I know you've said a lot. I don't want to hold you too much longer. Caleb, did you delve into like where she came from and all this other fun stuff?
Oh yeah,
I missed all that. Okay, so I'll go back and watch it for sure. But yeah, so appreciative of you. So Caleb, without further ado, man.
Without further ado, it is my turn. Well, thank you so much, Cassandra, for coming on. It's been an honor to have you on, and we would love to have you back on. And of course, after the show, we'll talk a little bit about a few things. But it's been such an amazing journey, right? Sustainable Journeys featuring Garbage Gang, featuring founder of Garbage Gang, Cassandra Carmelina, has been such. I've had a lot of fun. If you haven't noticed, referring journeys throughout this show, talking about different journeys and everything. It's been a lot of fun, but I think it's perfect. It really is perfect for this show, being able to talk about these journeys, this path that we take, these paths that we take, this puzzle that we're all a part of, right? And it's the whole thing, right? We're apart, but we're all together at the same time, and it's actually fascinating. It's phenomenal. And what you are doing, what Garbage Gang is doing, and what so many other gangs like this are doing throughout the entire world is exactly what we need and more. And so if you are watching, you are listening, and you are interested in this, you are fascinated, be a part of it. Find a way to be a part of it. Do your part. As Cassandra said earlier in the show, there's so many different things that you don't even have to be the person to go and pick up trash, right? You can simply just reduce your own waste, you increase your awareness is what I'm trying to say. Or you can simply, you can, like I mentioned earlier, you can be the guy that tweets about everything, like, hey, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, that type of stuff. But do that. And don't forget to check out Garbage Gang's social media handle at Garbage Gang CA, and also their website, garbagegang.ca as well. So definitely check that out. Amazing stuff's happening. So thank you again, Cassandra, for coming on. It's an absolute honor.
Oh, thanks, guys. I'm lucky to be here. It's been such a pleasure to trash talk together. So thank you.
I love that.
She's going places. She's going places. Thanks again,
That's
everyone.
Well, it's been an absolute honor. Once again, you are listening and you are watching the Identity Podcast. Don't forget to check out our friends, Ivy Rivera, the Revival Interfaith, Roots Revival Interfaith Church, every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Check that out. Really amazing stuff what they're doing. So definitely check that out. Don't forget to also go ahead and like us on TikTok, Facebook, all of that stuff. Follow us there. Some amazing stuff. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, any social media platform. We're on there, I promise you. And don't forget to stream us now, available on all streaming platforms, the Identity Podcast. And if you want to sponsor us, well, guess what? You can actually do that. All you have to do is email us at press@findyouridnyc.com. So pretty cool. In the month of March, we are celebrating Women's History Month. So happy Women's History Month. It's been an amazing time as we continue our sustainability series as well throughout the month. And don't forget to tune in every single Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time for the Identity Podcast. Next week, we have our guest, March 24th, Elizabeth Lindbergh. Very exciting stuff. We're going to kind of get back into this sense of sustainable fashion and fitness and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be a great show. I tell you, all these guests have been blowing my mind. Like, this has been awesome. I've been a kid in a candy shop. Like, it's been absolutely amazing. So once again, you've been listening and you've been watching the Identity Podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and stay groovy and save the earth.
See you guys.